Welcome to the Explainer. AI is already in our classrooms, shaping how millions of students learn. But a lot of the time, it's in ways we don't even see. We're going to talk about that today, the AI in the classroom and what I like to call its invisible curriculum. Let's get right into it. I mean, really, just let that sink in for a moment. You've got this automated system, right? It's supposed to be totally impartial, but it could be penalizing a kid for something as simple as a cultural reference it just wasn't trained on, and nobody would even know. This one idea, it really nails the huge promise, but also the huge risk of AI in our schools. All right, so to really get what's at stake here, we kind of have to back up a little. How did AI even get into our schools in the first place? And, what was the big idea behind it all?
So for the last, 10 years or so, the dream that EdTech companies have been selling is, honestly, it's amazing. They painted this picture of a world where every single student gets their own personal tutor, where the lessons perfectly match their speed, where top-notch education is something anyone, anywhere can get their hands on. I mean, that was the utopian promise, right?
But as you can probably guess, the reality has been a whole lot messier. In this big rush to make everything automated and personalized, it feels like efficiency became the main goal. And that often came at the cost of, the deep, messy, and super nuanced way that humans actually learn. And yeah, that's led to some really big and, frankly, unexpected problems. And that brings us right to the heart of our investigation. We're going to look at the two main culprits here, the big reasons these systems go off the rails. The first is bias, and the second is this really weird thing called hallucinations. Okay, first up, algorithmic bias. The core idea is actually pretty straightforward. Think of it like this. An AI is only as smart or as fair as the data it eats. So if you feed it data that's packed with all of our existing human biases and historical inequalities, well, what do you think happens? The AI learns those prejudices and just starts repeating them. It literally starts marking one kid's essay differently than another's based on patterns it picked up from biased data. And then there's the second problem, which is honestly even weirder. It's called AI hallucinations. This is when an AI, in its attempt to give you an answer, just makes stuff up. It's not trying to lie, not in the human sense. It just confidently spits out information that looks and sounds totally legit, but it's completely wrong. And you can imagine, in a classroom setting, that's just so dangerous. And look, this isn't just some abstract what-if scenario. This is happening right now in the real world. We're talking about proctoring software for remote exams that literally can't recognize students with darker skin. We're seeing language models that dock points from students just because they use a dialect of English that isn't the so-called standard. And maybe worst of all, there are AI tutors out there confidently teaching kids the totally wrong way to do a math problem. It's a mess.
So you got to ask, right? Why is this happening? What's the root cause? Well, it almost always comes back to one thing: the data. See, these incredibly powerful systems are built on a mountain of information, and that information has a dirty little secret. A lot of the time, it's biased, it's incomplete, or it just doesn't reflect the full diversity of the real world.
And this kicks off a really predictable chain reaction. Step 1, you feed the AI flawed data. Step 2, the AI model just gobbles it up and learns those flaws like they're the absolute truth. And the result? Well, the output you get is either going to be biased or just flat out wrong. It is the perfect example of that old saying, garbage in, garbage out. And this is where we get to what is, for my money, the most important part of this whole conversation: the human cost. What does this actually do to students, especially kids who might already be on the margins? Think about it. A biased AI isn't just a one-off mistake. It can systematically hold back students from certain groups, making achievement gaps even worse. It might even steer a brilliant student away from a subject they would have loved just based on a flawed pattern. It makes them lose trust in the very tools that are supposed to be helping them. And what about a student who gets a hallucinated fact from an AI tutor? If they don't have someone at home to help them double-check it, they just learn the wrong thing. That's a huge problem.
This isn't just about grades on a report card. The psychological toll can be huge. Just try to put yourself in the shoes of a student who feels constantly misunderstood or unfairly judged by a machine. It's got to create some serious anxiety, right? A feeling of being othered, of not belonging. And that can absolutely crush the confidence a person needs to actually learn anything.
So this all begs a massive question, doesn't it? When the AI gets it wrong, who's on the hook? Who's responsible? Is it the company that built the AI? The school that bought it? The teacher who used it in class? The fact that nobody seems to have a clear answer, well, that's a gigantic part of the problem. Okay, but it is not all doom and gloom. It's really not hopeless. So for this last part, let's switch gears and talk about solutions. What can we actually do to build a fairer future? And what's the role that each of us, yeah, including you, can play? All right, there's this one really promising piece of tech that's a key to cracking this case. Now, it has a super nerdy name, but I promise the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. Here's the best way to think about RAG. It's basically like forcing the AI to take an open book test. See, instead of just pulling an answer from its own gigantic, sometimes jumbled memory, the AI has to go look up the facts first. It has to check a trusted source like the actual class textbook or a verified database before it's allowed to generate an answer. This one step grounds the entire process in reality. And let me tell you, the difference this makes is like night and day. A standard AI might just, pull a historical date out of thin air, but a RAG-powered AI, it'll find the correct date in the textbook, give it to you, and then it can even cite its source. It can show you exactly where it found the information. When it comes to fighting those crazy AI hallucinations, this is a total game changer. So here's how it works, broken down into 3 easy steps. First, it retrieves. It goes and fetches the relevant facts from that verified knowledge base. Second, it augments. It takes those facts and adds them to your original question, giving it crucial context. And finally, it generates. It creates an answer. But now that answer is totally grounded in those facts it just looked up. Simple, but so powerful. But look, awesome tech like RAG isn't a silver bullet. It's not enough on its own. The EdTech companies building these tools have a massive responsibility here. They need to be doing serious, robust audits for bias and hallucinations. They absolutely need to be adopting safer tech like RAG, and they have to set up clear, easy-to-understand ways for people to report errors and get them fixed, because mistakes will still happen.
And this is where teachers come in. Educators are the most important line of defense. They are the essential human firewall. They have to know and teach that these AI tools are just assistants. They're flawed assistants, not some all-knowing oracle. Now more than ever, we need their critical thinking, their professional judgment, and their willingness to stand up and advocate for their students. And what about the students themselves? We absolutely have to empower them. We need to teach them to approach these tools with a healthy dose of skepticism, to always be asking that one simple but powerful question. Hey, how does the AI actually know that? Giving them the confidence to speak up when something feels off or unfair, that's not just a nice to have, that's a critical skill for navigating the world they're growing up in.
At the end of the day, this isn't a problem that just tech people or just teachers can solve. It's a community challenge. It's going to take parents, teachers, and students getting involved, engaging with their school boards, talking to policymakers, and demanding real transparency, real accountability, and high ethical standards for any AI tool that gets put in a classroom. Because let's be clear, this technology isn't some far-off future thing. It's not on its way. It's already here. It's in the classroom now. So the real question for all of us isn't if we're going to use AI in education. The question is, how are we going to make sure it's a fair and effective teacher for every single student? That's the challenge ahead of us.